Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Rakakodash, and double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And I also want to say Shalom to the hopeful elect out there hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Alright, I'm the brother Awalam from the GMS West Palm Beach Camp, back with another lesson. And just want to do a quick lesson through the spirit, concerning Esau and these enchantments, man. These psyopses that, he got going on, to pretty much, get your mind off of, what's really going on around the world. And the latest events, the latest shootings that's been going on, of course, we know, they were played out because, things are fake, just like the WWE, right? The WWE, them guys, they are taking real slams and real hits, but the whole action behind it all is scripted. They already know who's gonna win. Okay, they already know, all right, who's gonna come up on top. All right, but the bumps and the bruises and all that shit is real. Okay, so my point being is that Esau Edom, he scripts a lot of these events going on. Whether somebody passes or not, they got it in the script. But that's not to say that the events are not really taking place in the real world. And this is how Esau Edom, works on the emotion of the people. These are the enchantments that he does in real time, man. Okay? And this is one of the many things that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai addresses America for in the scriptures, man. The mother of harlots, the enchantments. This is Isaiah 47 and verse 12, and it says, "Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries." You see? The multitude of her sorceries. Because Babylon the Great was built upon sorceries, man. So-called founding fathers were Masons, man. They're all into witchcraft. They got a left-handed priesthood because, when you go into the scriptures, now these ancient kingdoms, they always had, left-handed priests. When you go back to Egypt, they had their magicians, man. Right? When you go back to the Babylonian Empire, they had their magicians. Remember when you had the writing on the wall, nobody could break it down until, the Lord put the spirit on Daniel to interpret it. Okay? And that showed what? The fact that Daniel interpreted, what the writing on the wall was, many temple was, and they couldn't. That means what? That the right hand side is greater than the left hand side. Okay? That the wisdom of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai supersedes the wisdom of, Satan, man, pretty much. The left hand side. Okay? And this is what Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is ruling this current world with. He's ruling the current world with a left-handed wisdom. But, hey, just like it says about the prophecy with Gad, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. All right, let's get that real quick, and I can come back to Isaiah 47. In the book of Genesis 49. Because at the end of the day, righteousness is going to overcome wickedness. You always see it in movies where, the bad guy has the upper hand, maybe in the beginning, middle of the movie, but by the end of the movie, the good guy always wins. See, and that's the movie being played out in real time. All right, the bad guy is Esau. The good guy is Jacob. The so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, but primarily dealing with the elect, beginning with Yahweh Shai. Okay? Because there's a 2/3, all right, that's wicked, man. But this is Genesis 49 in verse 19, the one that I called for. It says, "Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last." You see? And they're talking about the so-called Native American Indians, man. And when you go into the history of, the natives, Esau overcame the Gadites. He overcame all 12 tribes, man. But Gad gave Esau hell, when they came over here, fighting over the land. But it was ultimately prophecy for, Esau Edom to take over, because, he had to establish America, establish Babylon the Great. But guess what? At the last, all right, God is going to overcome, as the scripture says. Israel is going to overcome. You see what I'm saying? So that, just want to make that point of how the right-hand side is going to overcome the left-hand side, concerning prophecy, man. And that's the spirit, too, because, I did a recent lesson with the brother Gabar, concerning prophecy being our main focus. You see? Prophecy being our main focus, because Esau Edom, he's throwing all kinds of enchantments out there, and for the most part, a lot of people are not biting it, man. Like, a lot of people, they see the shenanigans, they see the games, but then you got, the simple. The scripture says, the prudent man foreseeth the evil, all right, but the simple believeth every word, man. All right, the simple among these people, they're going to believe, what the enchantments that Esau Edom is putting out there. And good for them, because they're going to get taken into that snare. Because it's clear that this man is lying to your face. It's clear that he's pretty much, setting you up for failure. Because in the midst of all these enchantments, he's bringing in that NWO. He's bringing in, these different world-changing, legislation. Right? But let me read Isaiah 47:12 again. It says, stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Right? America, going back to when it was first established, they were been into witchcraft. They were always into witchcraft, man. Okay, that's how this current world is ran. That's how Esau Edom was able to get away with, lies for so long, by keeping you under a spell, man, under a delusion. The fact that he was able to call himself white, all right, that's a delusion. No, the fact that he put the term black on us, all right, put the term Native American on our brothers, Hispanics, on our Northern Kingdom brothers, man, that's a delusion. Okay? But now the Lord is breaking that delusion, and he's bringing the truth. He's bringing the facts through his servants, the prophets. It says, from thy youth, if so be, thou shalt be able to prevail, to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. All right? And it says, if so, but you won't prevail. Because once again, the left hand always loses. Evil always loses at the end. You see, Esau Edom thinks that he's gonna establish his NWO. He thinks he's gonna establish his kingdom, forever. You see, but that's in his heart. The scripture says in the book of Psalms 49:11, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. And that's their inward thought. You see, and they call their lands after their own names, man. America, Africa. These were all named after so-called white men. You got certain streets here in America that's named after, certain people, man. Certain Edomites. You see? So, this is his inward thought. He did it on a smaller scale, all right, but now he's trying to establish his name forever, man. That's not going to happen, because once again, the Lord is getting ready to address this man for his wickedness. Address him for, I'm talking about, generations of wickedness, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you ever seen like a certain metal that has not been cleaned for so long? Like, I'm talking about years of just sitting there. It's all rusty, shit's rusty, it's ugly, and by the time you get to it, you look at it, you're like, shit, this shit dirty, you gotta do something with it, to the point where now you just gotta get rid of it, man. Well, that's what Esau is, all right? This devil been dirty, he's rusty, so the Lord is getting ready to burn this devil, man, spiritually and, literally. All right, his reputation is going to be burned, right? And literally, you know, how about Shemi Shah is going to do away with the nation of Edom, man? Okay? This is verse 13. It says, thou art wearied in a multitude of thy sorceries. Slaki. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy sorceries. Oh, Slaki, counsels. My bad. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. You see? And they won't be able to save you, Esau. They won't be able to save Babylon, which is America. You know? Because at the end of the day, what the Lord has purposed against this place cannot be overwritten. Alright? You can get as many, you know, magicians as you want. You can sacrifice as many babies as you want. You know, children as you want. At the end of the day, you know, you cannot override what the Lord has already spoken, man. And he's pronounced judgment against America, Babylon the Great. Alright? So these little false flags that you're doing, where you're pretty much staging events, you know, you're staging shootings, and, you know, you writing fake stories to pretty much get people's attention and mind off of, you know, what's really going on. You can get people, but you can't fool the Most High, man. You cannot fool the Most High. You know, the Lord, you know, got your iniquity, all right, in the basket, all right, ready to reveal everything, man. You know, so stand now with thine enchantments, man. All right, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to those that watch. Just, you know, a quick lesson before I hit the plant, man. You know, and Lord willing was edifying. I like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachakodash, and double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect out there hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.